What are you worth? Usually the answer to this question involves a valuation in monetary terms of the property someone owns or of their status, celebrity or otherwise, or in terms of their business acumen or of their assets in the bank. It is therefore easy to dismiss people who have no property portfolio, who only just about make ends meet at the end of the month, or who have a job which does not command much respect, or who have very few followers on Twitter. It is easy for such people to feel worthless. But what does Jesus say about this? Throughout his ministry, Jesus made it evident that the usual ways in which we as humans value others are not the ways in which he values us. Jesus spent time with people who would have been considered outcasts back in the day. He was prepared to touch people who suffered from leprosy. He attended gatherings where there were former prostitutes or tax collectors who had a really bad reputation back then as they supported an oppressive Roman regime. He spoke to people whom others would have ignored, the blind and the disabled, who were often homeless in the first century and had very few rights. Jesus even sought out such people. He did not seek out the rich and famous, although they themselves did try to curry his favour. Jesus also said some very radical things. In Mark's Gospel, in chapter 9, we read the story of how some of his followers were arguing about who was the greatest. Jesus responds by saying that whoever wants to be first must take last place and be the servant of everyone else. This thinking went against the current of the time and goes against the current thinking now. Jesus also lived this out. In chapter 13 of his account of Jesus' life, John, who was one of Jesus' followers, describes how Jesus washed the feet of his disciples. And this was normally the act of a servant, but Jesus was prepared to serve his friends. Although his followers knew that, according to his status as God's anointed one, it should be them washing Jesus' feet, Jesus chose to wash their feet. Can you imagine the Queen or Prime Minister or the President of the United States washing your feet after a long day of walking on dusty roads? What a crazy idea. But that is what Jesus' friends experienced. Jesus' willingness to serve and make his followers clean did not stop at the feet washing. He values people and considers us so full of worth that he died for us on the cross. And by dying, he was able to make anyone who believes in him clean, spiritually clean, from all the things that we do which cause hurt and pain to others, whether directly or indirectly. William Temple, a former Archbishop of Canterbury, said, "My worth is what I am worth to God, and that is a marvellous great deal, for Jesus Christ died for me." God, who is the ultimate authority on everything, says that that you, that we are all important in his eyes, for he was prepared to send his Son, Jesus Christ, to this earth to live and to die for us so that we could be friends with him again. To finish, I'm going to read out the words of a song written by a group of contemporary Christian songwriters which express this amazing truth that whether you own a house or not, whether you have a six-figure salary or not, whether you are married or not, whether you have a following on Instagram or have no social media account, no matter what your background is, and no matter what the colour of your skin is or what your social standing is, God loves you and considers you to be worth dying for, and he wants you to know him and to be his friend. My worth is not in what I own, not in the strength of flesh and bone, but in the costly wounds of love at the cross. My worth is not in skill or name, in win or lose, in pride or shame, but in the blood of Christ that flowed at the cross. As summer flowers we fade and die. Fame, youth, and beauty hurry by, but life eternal calls to us at the cross. I will not boast in wealth or might, or human wisdom's fleeting light, but I will boast in knowing Christ at the cross. Two wonders here that I confess, my worth and my unworthiness, my value fixed, my ransom paid at the cross.